Amy, and I'm here today to talk about this past weekend, which consisted of a lot of reading because it was the 24 and 48 hour read-a-thon, which I participated in. I didn't get to 24 hours. I got to 14 and a half hours, which I'm still pretty proud of considering all of the stuff that I did this weekend, you know, hanging out with my husband, napping, playing board games, stuff like that, you know, like really groundbreaking, you know, stuff. Anyway, so I read 14 and a half hours this weekend. I completed 2 books and I read in 2 other books. So before I talk about the books that I did read, the books that I did not pick up that were on my TBR are Night's Shadow by Sebastian de Castell, the second book in the Great Coat series. The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, Heartless by Marissa Meyer, and Doctor Who Revolutions of Terror, the graphic novel, first in the David Tennant 10th Doctor edition series. There we go. Now let's get into the books that I did pick up. One of the 2 books that I did not finish that I read in is To Whisper Her Name by Tamara Alexander, the first book in the Belle Mead Plantation historical fiction series. I'm really enjoying this and really looking forward to finishing it and continuing on in Tamara Alexander's writing because it's fantastic. And then the second book that I picked up but did not finish is Unblemished by Sarah Ella, and I got 106 pages into it and I'm enjoying it. I am really liking the writing, really liking the story. The only problem I have is that I am really kind of confused of what's going on, but I think the problem with that is that it's told in first person, so we only have as much information as the narrator, which is not a whole lot. And so it's very frustrating because I don't really understand what is going on or like really where the story is going and what's going on. So it's a little frustrating because I want more information. I want to know like what the world is and all that. So I'm a little frustrated, but I'm still enjoying the story. So I'm looking forward to continuing on in this story. Moving on to the books that I finished. The book that I had already started and finished during this weekend is The Chamber of Secrets, the Harry Potter illustrated edition, and I really enjoyed this book. It was so fantastic, and Chamber of Secrets isn't my favorite out of the series. It's not my least favorite, but it's not my favorite, but I really enjoyed reading this. It did bring something new to the table, and it was fantastic. I do have to say that if you are afraid of spiders, there are a few pages that are terrifying. I actually had to skip a couple pages because I just couldn't. I couldn't. And then there was one page where there was text on one side and really scary picture on the other side, and I held it so I couldn't see the picture. So just a fair warning, if you are terrified of spiders, there are a couple of pictures that are a little too lifelike and terrifying. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. Okay, and then the last book that I want to talk about is the book that I started and finished, and it was actually the first book that I picked up during the read-a-thon, and that is Everything by Nicola Yoon, and I absolutely loved this book. It was so fantastic. It's a book about this girl, Maddie, who has spent the last 18 years of her life in her house, never leaving it. The only people that she interacts with are her teachers online, her mom, and her nurse. And the reason behind this is that she suffers from this very rare disease that makes her allergic to everything, and anything can trigger an allergic reaction, whether it's eating something or touching something, and so she stays holed up in her house, never leaving. And then in walks Ollie, who moves in next door to her, and life kind of changes for Maddie, and it's just a story of Maddie discovering what life really is and what it means to live and what it means to really take life, you know, and just have at it. And I really loved the story. I really loved the exploration of life and love and family, and I just thought it was beautifully written. I thought it was interesting. I liked the concept of the way it was written. It was done in like journal entries and IM messages and notes, and I really liked that because it made the story go by very quickly. The only problem I have with this story, and it didn't hit me until I kind of sat on the story for a couple days, And there's one aspect in the story which I cannot say, because if you haven't read it, I don't want to spoil it. But there's this one aspect of the story that I don't think was handled correctly. I think it was actually just a situation that happened, and the reaction was just a little too severe, even though the situation was pretty severe. I'm just not okay with the reaction that was made. And I know I'm being very vague with that, but if you've read this story, you probably know what I'm talking about. And I don't know, I don't like the way it turned out. I do like the story. It didn't take away from the story, but as I said on it, I realized, I'm like, that's just not okay. So, yeah. But overall, I really enjoyed the story, and I definitely recommend it to anyone that hasn't read it. I don't know who hasn't. I feel like I was the last person to read this story. So if you haven't read it, you really should pick up everything. It really is just a fantastic story of life and love, and so good. Okay guys, so that is the wrap up of the 24 and 48 hour read-a-thon. Let me know down below if you participated in the read-a-thon and how you did, how many hours you read, and all that jazz. So guys, I hope you're having a great reading month, and I will see you on the flip side.